What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the latest channel, where today we are answering one simple question: should Red Bull drop Alex Albon? Now, we start this question 12 months ago when Pierre Gasly was dropped by Christian Horner in place of the rookie Alex Albon. Fast forward 12 months and Albon is in a similar situation, struggling in some cases for results, struggling to keep up with superstar teammate Max Verstappen, and the axe is now wavering above his head. Now at times he has been unfortunate, missing out on podiums, but is 6th in the championship good enough at this stage in the season? Find out whether we think he should be cut or he should be kept. So the first question that has to be asked: what have Alex's results been like? Now, if we look at him over his first 13 races, as a general trend, he is finishing around 5th to 6th, often last year behind the Mercedes, Ferraris and Verstappen, and this year tending to languish behind Verstappen, his teammate, and occasionally a Racing Point or McLaren. Now, in the most recent race, an incident with Magnussen pushed him down the field, but he did manage to trek back up into an 8th place, cutting through the field in the later laps. But are these performances good enough? He has yet to score a podium. However, I think Lewis Hamilton has a fair bit of blame to take, with both Austria and Brazil denying him 2 prime opportunities. Without these results though, would it still be good enough with just 2 podiums at Red Bull from your first 13 races? The question has certainly been asked, but there are 2 big issues. 1, who else is on the grid? And B, how does it compare to its former rivals? So, there are 2 main people with which we can compare Alex Albon. The first being his current teammate Max Verstappen, and the second being the man he replaced, Pierre Gasly. Now, I've taken the numbers over their last 12 races for Red Bull each, and I've crunched down to see how they compare against each other. Now, we'll start with qualifying. Qualifying is always a strong indicator of a driver's pace and tends to take out the reliability issues that can plague drivers when it comes to the race. Now, on average, excluding his best and worst performance, Max Verstappen has qualified an average in the last 12 races in 3.7th place. That tends to suggest that on average he is just behind the Mercedes and then occasionally behind the likes of Charles Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel or somebody else. In comparison, Alex Albon on average has qualified 7.7th, again taking out the uncommon denominators. His big issues have been Belgium or Spa, his first race for Red Bull back in 2019, and also the Austrian Grand Prix this year, or a couple of the most recent ones where he's been out in Quali 2 for back-to-back races. However, as a whole he has been 5th to 6th and just beats out Pierre Gasly, the man he replaced, who on average qualified 7.9th and tends to fluctuate a lot more than the other 2. Now this is a big pointer between Albon and Gasly. Albon is a lot more consistently on the pace. Yes, he doesn't always score as well. Gasly occasionally got 4th, 3rd, and I think he even got 1 2nd at some point in the season, but he often dropped off at times, being 8th, 10th, 11th, which really isn't good enough for a Red Bull driver. But at the end of the day, it's race day that matters, and how do they tot up? Now, over the last 12 races, Max Verstappen has scored 130 points, averaging 11 per race, which is sticking him on average around 4th to 5th in every single race. Now, it must be considered, Max has had 3 retirements, whereas Gasly and Albon had considerably less issues as a whole. Now, some of these obviously were, I believe, Max's fault, but at the same time, you've got to think reliability can plague. So for Alex on average has finished, I believe it was with in total 91 points over his season, which is a decent performance, averaging at around 8 points per race. Now this tends to fit the trend. 6th place is the position that he's kind of become accustomed to, and that's what we've noticed in the Grand Prix so far. So that kind of fits the bill. It's a good portion of points, but isn't quite the same as Max's 40-point difference when you think about it. Now, we go down to Gasly. Gasly is another step lower, getting 61 points from the 12 races that he raced with Red Bull. This is averaging 5 points, putting him around the 7th to 8th spot in every single race, putting him behind, in many situations, the likes of the Racing Point or the likes of Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris and the McLarens. Now this again shows that Albon certainly has a bit of pace on Gasly, which is a huge factor. However, Gasly isn't the only man he has to beat. There are other drivers around the paddock, and the next question that has to be asked is who could replace him? So after looking through the grid, I've come to the conclusion that with certain drivers having already signed contracts and being agreed elsewhere, there are 4 men on the grid right now who could replace Alex Albon for the 2021 season. Now, I'm not including Nico Hülkenberg, and I'm not going to say Dan Ticktum. although maybe some would like to see new co-driver at Red Bull, I don't think it's going to happen. However, the first man that we will start with is a German. That man is Sebastian Vettel. Vettel is obviously out of contract with Ferrari in 2021 and could be tempted to a team that definitely has one of the best cars on the grid. However, the issue with Vettel, being a four-time world champion, they tend not to want to be the second driver, and that's exactly what would happen at Red Bull. Max is the protege. We've seen it at Red Bull before when we think back to Daniel Ricciardo, and I can't see Verstappen or Vettel being the number 2 driver and showing any quarter. It would end up as a similar situation with like Alonso and Hamilton, and it just ends up very, very messy and tends to damage the team. And as you can see with like the likes of Leclerc and Sainz and Hamilton and Bottas, a 1-2 setup is currently what is favoured by many of the teams. However, that doesn't mean that Vettel can't have an impact on who races for Red Bull in 2021. If Vettel joins Aston Martin for the following season, it will likely kick Sergio Perez out of a seat, with Lance Stroll being fairly comfortable for the following year. Now, Sergio is a solid driver, consistently at the front of the midfield, and if he can pull out good performances, especially with the quality of the Racing Point car this year, bag a couple of podiums if things go really well, this would certainly persuade Christian Horner that he is a man deserving of a second chance at a top team. Now, in the past, Perez has struggled, but he was young. It was 2013 and he was just 23 years of age. And I think even though McLaren was struggling and he wasn't quite as good as Button, he does deserve a second chance. And I think Red Bull would be tempted to give it to him if Albon can't pull through the results and Vettel knocks him off his seat at Racing Point. And then the final two are slightly more obvious. We've got Danny Kvyat and we have Pierre Gasly. Now, I think one is more obvious than the other. They have both raced for Red Bull in the past, but I think Kvyat is currently only holding an AlphaTauri seat because there are no other drivers coming through the ranks that can currently replace him. Now, Gasly could do it. He's had a strong start to the season. He's already picked up 14 points, which is level with the likes of Esteban Ocon, who are very highly touted in arguably a car that is weaker than the Renault. So you'd have to say he is proving once again that he has the results. But would Christian return to the man that just 18 months earlier he had kicked out of the seat? I think again it is unlikely, leaving Perez as the most likely option of the four to be taking the seat for 2021. So the final simple question then, should Albon, in my opinion, lose his seat to Sergio Perez, or any of the others for that matter? And my answer is quite simple, no. Albon is still just 24 years of age, he has a lot of time to mature, and he has shown already that he is a consistent driver that, whilst he can't pull in the big points, can pull in a consistent set of points week in, week out for Red Bull. You can see he's already starting to shift from that 6th, 5th, 6th kind of position to a 4th, 5th kind of area, and it's only a matter of time until he gets his first podium. Fingers crossed, sooner rather than later if you can avoid Lewis Hamilton. The issue at the moment is the Mercedes are tending out to block the front row, which makes it difficult for other drivers to impress as much as they once were. However, I just don't think that Albon has been given enough of an opportunity yet to be dropped. 24 races isn't a whole lot, and while Sergio Perez and Sebastian Vettel and the likes are strong drivers, Albon is good as well. He's consistent, he shows good pace. Yes, he isn't as fast as Max, but it is anybody. So as a whole, Alex, I hope you do well, I hope you bag your first podium, and I hope you keep signing for Red Bull in 2021. Now, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I want to do like this more regularly, where I do like a football question or a Formula 1 question. There's a slightly shorter video where I just talk about stuff. So, if you've enjoyed, leave a like, go subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!